Welcome to Build Your Best Business. I'm your host, Eric Holtzclaw. Build Your Best Business focuses on the entrepreneurial journey. What does it take to successfully start, manage, grow, exit a business? I have a good friend with me today, Gentry, so this will be a different show, a more familiar show, because we spent some time together. And what's interesting about what Jane does and sort of where I fit, I often come in and work with companies from a marketing perspective or an operational perspective. But when they start to talk to me about sales, I'm like, yeah.
You hear womp, womp.
I can't sell my own stuff, so I can market it. The other part. So Jane comes in. Jane is a very has a long background in kind of working in that space, thinking about salespeople, selection of salespeople. And often when I'm talking with companies and we are looking at marketing, maybe more than operations, they have confused sometimes marketing with sales. So they think one is the other,
Right.
which is not always the case.
Right.
And they almost are all, I've never heard a person say, I'm really good at identifying and hiring salespeople.
No, the churn rate in most organizations is 25%, meaning year over year, they churn over 25% of their sales organization.
Oh, wow.
It's a very common number. Some
Yeah.
organizations, it's a lot higher than that. And I always say to clients, if you had that number in any other department in your company,
You'd freak
be
out.
fired.
Right.
And yet, we think that's really normal for salespeople.
Well, you know, and you say 25%, which is high, but I almost feel like it could be higher, right?
Oh, absolutely. That's an average.
Okay, because sales,
Right?
sales is the thing, and from the perspective of, you know how to hire a bookkeeper, or you know
Yes.
how to hire, you know how to track that person correctly.
Well, and we let the wrong people hire salespeople.
Okay.
Is
So let's talk
another
all
thing.
about that then. So
But let me back up to your marketing comment.
Yeah.
So I have recently gotten a new little PowerPoint picture that I've started to show people. That's the funnel.
okay.
Here are all the marketing activities
Right.
that you do. Here's what here's the point when they become a marketing validated opportunity. They have to cross this chasm to become a sales qualified opportunity and get into the sales funnel.
Yeah.
So creating a really distinctive picture for people that says, that's a marketing effort, that's a sales effort. Here's how we measure a marketing opportunity. Here's how we start to measure sales opportunity. So I think pictures have become really important because I also find that people get confused,
Yeah.
especially in certain kinds of companies,
Well, and certainly, like when I'm doing, like I said, sales,
which you shouldn't do.
they're always like, they say stuff, and I'm like, you need a salesperson. You don't need a marketing person, because
Yeah,
they're
you don't-
asking questions that
you
are
don't
not
need to
that.
be doing that.
And I love the word the chasm that you used
Yeah.
between sales and marketing, because there is like it's almost they point at each other and those types of things. So getting into sales. So one of the big things I see as a problem is people say, like they do with marketing, I need a salesperson.
Right.
So how do they know? Because there are different types of salespeople. Like how do you even identify that for your company?
So the first thing that we try to help sales leaders do is really get clear about what I call role identification.
Okay.
What are we hiring for? The popular child right now in sales is inside sales people, right? Because we think we don't need outside salespeople. We don't need anybody on the phone anymore. We're just going to have Eric Holtzclaw send us all this great stuff, and our inside salespeople are going to close it. And that's fake news. Do not believe the fake news, right?
Wow. Okay.
You need people on the phone. You need just like your marketing effort is a very dimensional effort, reaching customers a lot of different ways. Your sales effort should be exactly the same way. But the first thing is we need clarity around the roles we're going to hire for.
Okay.
So that's the first thing.
And so I hear that a lot of the companies that I work with or talk to, the best salesperson is like what I tell you I'm not a good salesperson, but I'm probably the best salesperson for what I do.
Sure.
Right. So like I'm the guy who goes in but there's stuff before.
Because you're an expert.
Yeah, the stuff before and after I'm terrible at.
Yeah.
You know, like if I can get in the room with a person, I'm going to convert them.
Right.
but I know I'm bad at maybe the follow-up piece of it. You and I have talked before. I'm like, I've got this prospect and I can't get them to call me back,
Right.
or they're asking for this and I don't know why.
Yeah,
And you're like, tell me why. So if you're in that situation where the leader of the company may be the best salesperson, or or thinks they're the only salesperson, maybe that's a better way to say it. Where do I know how do I invest first in sales? Like, what's the first thing I should do to think about building a sales organization?
Oh, so way back before you even start to hire a salesperson, you need to have a sales strategy.
Okay.
And you need to figure out what's your message, who's your client. You do the same thing for marketing, right? Like, you're never going to launch a marketing initiative for a customer with no strategy. A lot of people call me up and go, we need you to help us hire some salespeople, start a sales organization. And I go, okay, so what's your market? Who's your customer? What do they care about? What are they struggling with? What's your differentiator? What's your message for this? And they go,
I just want a salesperson.
I just want a salesperson.
I'd like some leads.
So
that's the call. I avoided a customer who really wanted me to bid a piece of business the other day, and he's like, I want 40 leads a month. And I'm like,
bye-bye.
I don't know that we're not going to be good with that.
So we have to have a plan.
Okay.
Right? We have to have a clean plan. And then we can start to talk about what's the best way to get to that customer. How do we integrate our marketing effort and our sales effort? What are the things we're going to measure? The other thing I find is that many sales managers in all sizes of companies measure the wrong thing. And they see their role the wrong way, in my opinion. Now, I was just with a big company yesterday, and we were having this conversation, and I said, sometimes it's not their fault. Sometimes it's cultural.
Right.
It's coming from above, where they're going, your job is to manage the numbers at the end of the month, at the end of the quarter, at the end of the year.
And by the way, if you want to raise a promotion or a bonus,
you're attached to those numbers. So what they do is they go into their sales organization. They're like, Eric, how you doing this week? What'd you close this month? What do you have in the funnel?
Right.
What do what's your forecast? What's your this? That is never going to get you to the number. Two things are going to get you to the number: measuring the right things, and those things are what I call leading indicators. So they're the behaviors that get you to the number. How many calls have I made? How many of those converted into meetings? How many of those meetings converted into proposals? How many of those proposals converted into opportunities?
So you're measuring activities.
We're measuring activities. Okay. And we're comparing those numbers then to previous activities to say, now we can start to see trends. Mm-hmm. When we do this many of this activity, we end up with this percentage of opportunities. So if I'm a manager, I need to be tracking the activities that get me to the number, not the number.
Got it.
That's the first thing.
Okay.
The second thing is managers should see themselves not as money managers, but as people developers.
Okay.
The best sales managers are serious about developing their people.
It just seems so counter because they're
coaching, right?
Yeah.
They're coaching at the right time. So what I see a lot of sales managers do, they're like, how you doing, Eric? Let me know if you need anything. They're chasing the number. And then you get to the presentation part and they're like, how can I help you? They fly in to talk about pricing and they fly in to talk about your presentation, but they should have been coaching from the very first discovery call.
Got it. And does that because the model I see, here's the model I see. Somebody goes out, they hire a salesperson.
Yep.
They probably don't have a sales strategy.
No.
And I think it would be an interesting conversation at some point to talk about maybe the difference between a marketing strategy and a sales strategy.
Yep.
If they're different.
They're similar things, but they're different.
Different, okay.
Mm-hmm.
They hire this person, they talk about how they sell the deal or bring the customer in, maybe give them a few leads, tell them to go look for something. They give them some rope, so they give them 3 to 6 months typically, and that's this turnover thing. The person doesn't produce, and they get rid of them.
Yeah, so there are a lot of mistakes in there. Number one, how they hired, so we should talk about that. Number two, how they onboarded them and ramped them and prepped them. What's the toolbox that you gave that person?
Right.
So, we share a client that I'm helping them ramp up their sales organization right now. And I keep saying, so when you get this person in the office, what's the playbook?
Right.
What's the value prop? They're going to be sitting at a desk with nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's such a funny because...
And so how do you think they're going to succeed? There's, you can be the best salesperson in the world, but I still need tools.
Right. And you're asking salespeople who are not often the best people to write out those kind of processes and things.
No.
Because financial, you'd have to do it. Every month to have finances, you have to have a bookkeeper who does a thing. And so they're always like, there's activities I have to do every day.
Yep.
Activities.
Yep.
That get me to a result. And we think about, I had a business partner at one point who told me for years, I let him teach it to me and believe it until I didn't believe it any longer, that sales was just voodoo. Just it's just voodoo and it's just, it's about relationship and da-da-da.
No, and there's no voodoo.
Yeah.
That we do this big diagnostic process for the majority of our customers where we start with an existing sales organization is with a diagnostic to tell them, we look at people, process, pipeline. How much, I have small ears. This thing keeps popping out. I might just lose this one. This is the only small thing on me, but, how much more effective can you be with the organization that you have today?
Right.
Well, one of the things we look at is what is your brand statement? What is your value proposition that your salespeople are pitching to customers in the marketplace? And the majority of the time, it's all over the board. Mm-hmm. And these sales leaders look at it and they go, where did they come up with this, Jane? This isn't who we are. Yeah. This is not about, and I go, well, if you don't give it to them,
right,
they made it up.
And do you find that they're often selling like a really surface thing? Meaning it's not directly what the customer's really buying from.
And it's not value.
Right.
It's something stupid.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry if I'm being too frank.
No, exactly.
It's something like, we've been in business for 80 years. Our leaders have 175 years of experience between, I don't care. That's not value.
Well, it's like you and I were pitching that one customer and they were like, yeah, we're working with this guy. And he was at this big Fortune 500 company and we've saved him 5% on his budget this year.
Right.
And we were like, that is not why that guy's buying from you. Yeah. He does not care about the 5%. That is not why he's buying from you.
So if we don't give them the right tools, the right playbook, the right messaging, then it's our fault.
Yeah.
If in 3 to 6 months
they don't work out,
they're not doing anything. Yeah. So there's that. How do we onboard them? How do we arm them to do their job well? But then how do we hire them in the first place?
Got it.
And it's amazing to me the way that a lot of companies treat sales like hiring the janitor. Same person interviews the janitor that interviews the head of sales. They go through the same process to do that. They ask the same kinds of questions.
So let's talk about that. So we're going to go to a break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about hiring. So how do you hire a salesperson correctly? If I'm not the person, if the person hiring the janitor isn't supposed to be hiring the salesperson, then who is it? So you're listening to Build Your Best Business. I'm your host, Eric Holtzclaw, talking today with Jane Gentry. She's the principal of Jane Gentry & Company and an expert at sales and finding salespeople and making your sales organization work well. We'll be back in just a minute.
Eric, tell us about Laddering Works.
So Laddering Works is a company that helps other businesses in one of two ways.
Okay.
So your company is either growing and you're not exactly sure how to keep up. So you need to scale operations, maybe raise some money, those kind of things.
So growing too fast.
Growing too fast. Growing too fast. You got kind of structural, you walk in every day, there's a fire. You've been doing it longer than 3 years or 1,000 days, and you still feel like you can't step away from the business and take a vacation. So we help companies on that side. So sort of operational support, looking at their financing, seeing if there's a way that we can help them, get to the next level. Or you're a company that's not doing any marketing at all. So you are maybe stalled. Your business has gotten to a certain level. You make a certain amount of money every year, but you've never gotten above that. And we come in and build marketing structure. So both of them are operational at the end of the day. It's about creating a process and a way to approach it that's strategic. It's that owners don't often know how to do both of those. So they're really good at sales, which means they may need operational structure because they're out signing more customers than they know what to do with. Or they've built a beautiful product that's the best kept secret. And so they need somebody to come in and help them market that product. And so that's the kind of businesses we look for. We come in as a stopgap, and we work with a company for somewhere around 12 to 18 months typically, solve those problems for them and leave them better than we found them. And we're back. You're listening to Build Your Best Business. I'm your host, Eric Holtzclaw, talking today with Jane Gentry. She is the principal of Jane Gentry and Company, and she and I are yin and yang if you think about sales and marketing, because so many companies, they talk about them all at once. Like they say sales and marketing, right? Yeah. They don't say sales and marketing. You'd never say sales and finance. I mean, they don't often go together. But
we are symbiotic.
Yes.
So I get why we're together.
Yeah, we are. But then it's funny because within organizations, they're often
confuse them,
countered, and there's a gap and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
So as we came to the out of the last segment, we were talking about just how do I hire a salesperson? Who should be hiring the salesperson? How do I hire a salesperson? How's it potentially different from hiring? I think you used the janitor or a bookkeeper.
Yeah, that might have been a little dramatic. So who should be hiring a salesperson? A sales leader or somebody in the sales organization or a very well-trained talent person.
Okay.
But your average HR person, as much as I love them and what they contribute to a company, your average HR person is not equipped to hire a salesperson. So that's the first thing. The second thing is when we help clients hire, or when I hire salespeople, we assess everybody on the front end of the funnel. In other words, we'll run 100 salespeople through our assessment tool. And I don't want to have the first phone call with somebody that doesn't get a thumbs up from the tool. And obviously, I have a favorite tool that we use. I'm not going to try to sell your listeners on what we use, although I'm happy to help you if you want. But what I would say to you is, the kinds of things that we use are very sales specific. I'm looking at, can you sell? Will you sell? Different question altogether. And are you going to be at a company long enough for that company to generate 5x on what it costs them to recruit you, hire you, onboard you, train you? So what the mistake I see people make is they'll use a personality assessment.
Okay.
They'll use a psychometric assessment. And again, those things are great for what they're intended for, but they are not going to tell you if somebody can sell. So the first thing is we run everybody through a sales candidate assessment. You don't get a phone interview unless you get a thumbs up on that assessment. That's step number one.
Okay. And so you talk about, and we may not have time to cover that part, but I'm curious about why the HR person may not be the right person.
Yeah, because let me tell you how we interview salespeople.
Okay.
And I am interviewing right now for a client. I'm helping them staff up their sales organization. And so I said to him, the first thing we're going to do with these candidates that we have that have gone through our system and they got to a certain point, I said, now I want you to be prepared. We're going to do a phone interview. It's going to be less than 10 minutes. I don't want you to freak out that I'm not serious about these candidates or whatever. But there are certain things I'm listening for on the phone because his people are going to be cold calling a lot.
Right.
How long do you have to make an impression with a
10
customer?
seconds.
Okay, so I'm giving them 9 minutes
Right.
and 50 seconds longer than they have with a customer.
Right.
I ask them certain questions. I don't take the time to be, I'm not mean, but I don't take the time to be cordial. I don't go, hey, Eric, how you doing? Thanks for being
Right.
on this call with us. I treat them the way a prospect would treat them. And I can tell in less than 10 minutes, you're going to the next phase or you're not. And we got through with those calls and I said to him, it's Micah. Do you see now why I did that call the way that I did? And he goes, yeah, and I never would have done that.
Yeah.
I said, but this is what they're going to sound like on the phone to your customer.
Yeah, that's interesting because typical interview for a position is a more cordial thing, right? You're getting to know. No, I mean, I'm talking about another position. You're like, we need to get to know each other. And
No, and a matter of fact, the recruiter that is helping us source these people, I rejected one of the candidates right out from the 10-minute phone interview. And his feedback to her was, those people didn't even take the time to get to know me. I don't want to work with them. And I said to her, the feedback you need to give him is, you were just doing a prospecting call.
Right.
And you blew it.
Right.
You need to reframe the position that you're in.
Yeah.
You need to be selling right now. And I gave you the easiest topic you'll ever get. You. The thing that you know the most about. Right? So the topic wasn't even hard.
Yeah. So the salespeople then, would you suggest or believe that there are different types of salespeople?
Yeah, I think that, people always think salespeople need to be extroverted, which they always misuse that term, but they need to be extroverted. They need to have a bubbly personality. I don't agree with that. There's a salesperson for every customer, but there are certain DNA qualities that you have to have.
That are consistent.
Yes. For example, do you have a disproportionate need for people to like you?
Mm. That is so funny because I'm typically on the operational side of the business.
Yep.
And we have all this conflict with the sales guys, right?
Yep.
And I always say that. I'm like, and every salesperson that I've ever met that's good, I'm like, he doesn't like the fact that you're being mean to him, right? Or to her. Meaning on an operation perspective. Like
but what I'm saying is salespeople who need to be liked too much don't ask enough questions. They don't ask hard questions.
Okay.
And they give stuff away. They tick off your CFO because they're giving stuff away in the deal they shouldn't be giving away because they want the customer to like them.
They tend to say things like, let's give them this deal and the next time we'll do it at a better price.
Yeah, whatever. So that's one of the things that we test for.
Okay. So that is not a good characteristic.
No. When you think of a customer, is it more important for you that they like you or they trust you?
Yeah.
And if you show up in so if I need you to like me, I'm not pushing you to get me the decision maker. I'm tolerating put-offs that you give me because I understand, Eric's busy. He's got other stuff going on. Or I know he has to price shop. This is his job at stake, right? So that's what I would call sales DNA. So we look for that. But then
That is so interesting. You need to talk to every customer I've ever worked with because every salesperson is this like person that feels like they need to be, they have to be liked, right? Like I have conversations with them all the time where because I'm typically in with the operation team and I'm like, we have rules. You need to follow the rules, right? We're trying to get a margin, and then the salesperson gets into this like, they get into this like it's a personal thing. I'm like,
well, now don't confuse empathy. So empathy is an important DNA
yeah,
quality,
no,
right?
They need to be liked.
But this is about I need them to like me.
Yeah,
and
they'll say that.
My clients do like me, but they like me because they trust me.
Right. Yeah.
And they trust me for things that have nothing to do with my personality.
Yeah. So what's interesting about that is, so I tell you I'm not good at sales, but I am good when I'm in the room, right? Because I'm all in the room and I'm like, you're going to like me or not like me. I'm going to teach you something. The problem I have typically is in the front end of that.
Yep.
So that's where the interesting disconnect is.
Well, and salespeople who have an inordinate desire to teach people
yeah, that's me.
are a problem too.
Yeah, no, that's me. Absolutely. Every day of the week. I should have probably been a college professor.
So we look at
bourbon in the
we're
evening.
looking at their DNA. We're looking at their capabilities. In other words, along the sales process,
Right.
are they good at discovery? Are they good at qualifying? Are they good at listening? So we are testing for all very specific sales behaviors,
Got it.
right? Not janitor behaviors. Can you sell?
So somebody who needs to be liked and someone who likes to teach, those could be Achilles heels.
Those are Achilles heels for salespeople.
What else might be?
Afraid to talk about money. Have a bad buy cycle. So a buy cycle is the way you buy.
Yeah.
So if I am a price shopper
Yeah.
or I am a comparison shopper, I'm likely to tolerate those blocks from a customer because I get it. I'm that way. I understand. It's important to do
So
that.
if you're like me, which I'm like, I make a decision.
Yes.
Make a decision almost because I'm like, you're not selling me, I'm buying.
So, right.
And-
So
and
we
I-
look at how salespeople buy because they are likely to tolerate that bad behavior from their
I'm a
customers.
terrible salesperson, Jamie.
I can help you.
I'm an educator and I'm a quick decision maker. Like I am both.
I'm a quick decision maker. I told you I just did 10-minute, less than 10-minute screen.
No, but I'm talking
interviews.
about from a buying perspective.
yeah.
I'm a quick buyer.
Yeah.
I'm walking in, I'm like, doing it or not.
So I want to get to something else. We have 3 minutes, but tell me how your quick buying impacts the way that you sell.
Because here's what I do. I think what I do is I impose upon the other person my decision making. I'm like,
It's your buy cycle.
if you're not interested, then
if you're
no problem.
dinking around, I'm
Let's
out of
move
here.
it on.
That's right. Yeah. That's your buy
Moving on.
cycle. So see how that impacts the way you sell.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Terrible salesperson.
So then once we
Now I
get,
know why though, which makes me super sad.
once we get through that screen interview, these interviews I did yesterday, I am looking at their assessment and their weaknesses, and I'm probing in those areas, right? So if you have a high need to be liked, I said yesterday, what do you think is more important, that a customer likes you or trusts you? What do you think it makes them like you?
Yeah.
What do we had a client, a
Does anybody
candidate
ever say
yesterday.
that they want to be liked over being trusted?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Because they go, the relationship is so important, and they're right. But the kind of relationship that they want to have is not the ideal relationship for a great salesperson,
Okay.
right? They want to be friends.
Right.
That's not the kind of relationship that we need to have.
Yeah.
And we might have that. I'm friends with a ton of my clients.
Right.
But it's not. We didn't start that way.
Exactly.
Right. The other thing would be one of these candidates yesterday showed up as not being able to manage his emotions very well. So that was something that I probed in there. What really, I use the P word, but what really ticks you off?
Right.
You know, what do you do about that? What has a client ever done? I look for things like, where are you weak in the sales process? The guy yesterday said, no, where I'm pretty good all the way through. So I don't know what that tells you. It tells me he's not very coachable.
Right. He's not aware of his blind
And
spots.
coachable is something I'm looking for.
Yeah.
I said, when you lose, why do you lose? So I'm probing for, do you take responsibility for how you sell, why you win and why you lose? He said, when I lose, it's never me. It's the market, the competition.
Right.
Wrong answer, wrong answer, wrong answer, right? The next candidate, I said, when you lose, why do you lose? She said, it's usually me, and I take the time to figure out, where did that go wrong? What's the lesson? What do I need to do next time?
Yeah.
That's a salesperson I want, right?
Yeah.
So, and I said to the client, when I say to somebody, where did you make a mistake that you learned from? And you can say, I can't think of one. Or where are you weak in the sales process? Yeah, I'm pretty good all the way along. I said, I've been doing this for more than a minute
while.
and a half. I've been doing this for a little bit. And I could tell you 5 right now
Right.
in my career where I screwed up. And it's in my mind, man, don't ever do that again.
Yeah.
Right? So we're probing, but it is, I want them to role play. I want to make them do something that they have to do in a sales situation. I want them to show me their calendar right now.
Yeah.
How full is your calendar right this minute? I don't want you to tell me that you have a full pipeline. I want you to open up your Open
me
up your iPod
appointments. Yeah.
or your iPad or whatever
Right.
you're on right now and show me what your calendar looks like.
Yeah.
So I'm not, a monster, but I'm not there for you to feel good. Your customers, your prospects are not going to make you feel good. I want to put you in the exact same situation that you're going to be in when you're selling for my company or my customer. And I want to see how you do then. When we did the 10-minute online phone interviews, I don't say, do you have any questions? I go, okay, well, great meeting you, Eric. We'll get back to you. The next step is this. And I'm waiting for somebody to go, Jane, before you hang up, can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah. Do they take control of the conversation?
Do they manage the conversation?
Right.
In the interview, do they close?
Right.
Did they say to me, great, I'll look forward to hearing from you? Or did they say, Jane, this is exciting. I think I'm the absolute right person for this job, and I would love to have this job.
Yeah.
So I'm putting them as much as I can in a selling situation to see, can I recreate what's going to happen when they're in front of your customers? And that is a different interview from how you're going to interview the CFO, right?
Well, I definitely learned something today.
Good.
I actually learned some terrible things about myself.
I can help you though. I coach you.
Yeah, well, is it coachable though, or is it? I guess that's a good. Is it coachable? So if someone has those traits, can they overcome them? Or is it DNA?
Yeah,
is it nature
answer
nurture
is
thing?
yes. The easy button is yes. One of the things we test for is coachability.
Got it.
I want to know, do you take responsibility? Are you coachable? Are you trainable? If those things come up
That it's possible.
high.
So you say there is hope. So
Yeah.
saying there's a chance.
Yes. And so what I said to this client yesterday is, you can see with this person that we're going to make an offer to, you can see where her gaps are, but now you know where to train her when you onboard her.
Smart. Very nice. Thank you so much for being with me today. Been talking
I'll
with
always spend time with you.
Jane Gentry. She's principal of Jane Gentry and Company, and an expert at helping you find the right salesperson and building your sales organization, which is very important to building your best business. So until next time, what are you going to do to build your best business?